YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer, where I'm going to be talking through some of the changes that the Warriors of Chaos saw in Patch 4. And the changes to them are pretty significant, and there's a pretty decent sized list. They added 3 new units to them, so that's the first thing I'll cover. And the units, if I can remember them all, it should be this Aspiring Champions, which is a small in number. It's only 12 units, but it's kind of like these large, kind of like hero-looking guys. Their stats are really quite good for how cheap they are, and they have really low hit points, but they seem to be pretty durable just because of 62 melee defense, and then they also have the 120 armor. So it makes them a pretty durable unit. They have a Encourage aura right here, and I find these guys to be helpful to keep your Chaos units in the fight a little bit longer because you'll have encouraging units around, so they can be useful for that. The other unit that got added here is this Marauder Horsemasters. It has a lot of ammunition. It's a spear cavalry. It says 37 missile damage. Let's see if the missile damage is the same as the cheap one. No, it's more than the cheap ones. And essentially you get a little bit more armor and melee capability. I can show you the comparison between the two. So if we're looking at this one, you get quite a bit more health, more armor, leadership, melee attack, melee defense, charge bonus, range, missile damage, all those kind of things. Is it going to be worth it? I don't know, man. 750 for a missile cavalry in a game that is not real good for missile cavalry, just it sounds questionable to me. But they and we'll talk about it later. They dropped the price on the base skirmishers. And then there was one other unit they added. It was the Feral Manticore, which shows up down here in the monsters. So at only 1,000 cost for a unit that causes fear and terror and flies, this is probably the biggest unit that got added to Chaos in terms of the impact. So that's a big deal. It helps Chaos not get owned quite so bad in flying fights. And there was more news that's going to change that. So let's talk through some of these changes. So all Chaos Lord, or the Chaos Lord, so all, has minus 50 cost. A Chaos Lord on a Manticore gets an extra 6 melee attack. A Chaos Sorcerer, all of them, a Sorcerer Lord I should say, is reduced 100 cost. They get 10 more damage and 10 more AP damage, so considerably more damage for the Chaos Sorcerers, which should help them a little. Then you have the Chaos Sorcerer Lords on a Manticore or a Dragon. They get extra melee defense and an extra 100 hit points. The Chaos Sorcerer Lord on a Manticore gets an extra 10 missile resistance. Archaon gets 100 extra hit points. Kolek gets 100 hit points, 20 armor. Sorry, that's not Kolek. He's right here. Yeah, and then supposedly there's less chance of him being interrupted by a hit, so I think it helps him not get staggered as much, supposedly. The Exalted Hero on a Manticore, 6 more melee attack and 10 more missile resistance. Exalted Hero gets plus 2 morale. That seems pretty stupid because I don't know how 2 morale is going to help a unit that was already like 64 to 66. That's nothing, so I don't even get that. Marauders, all plus 2 morale. Like, again, great. Plus 2 morale. Sure. Whatever. Marauders with great weapons. It says attack interval next to it, and I can't tell if it's a minus sign or what. So I don't know what that means. I sometimes don't like notes like this from Creative Assembly. It would be nicer if they would expand a little on that and help us understand what it is they're trying to do. I can only assume maybe these guys have a better attack interval, like they hit more often or something. I don't know. Marauder Horsemen with Javelins, the minus 100 cost, minus 4 melee attack, minus 2 charge bonus, plus 5 range, and minus 4 hit points. So the Marauder Horsemen with Javelins are quite a lot cheaper now. They're the ones that are only at 500 cost, so at least you have a cheap option there. Marauder Horsemen with Throwing Axes, 25 cost reduction and plus 5 range. So you can see them here at 650 now. All Chaos Warriors, minus 25 cost and plus 2 HP. Is that 2 HP per unit model? Or 2 HP like it went from 5623 to 25? I have to assume that that's 2 more hit points for each unit, or each model within the unit. So I'm guessing overall it probably went up by 150, which I don't know why they wouldn't say 150 if that was the case. And if you really did increase it from 5623 to 5625, why are you wasting your time? So again, I'm going to assume that it was 2 hit points, 1 for each character in the unit size, so probably a total of 150. Chosen with halberds, minus 50 cost, and again it says attack interval, so I'm assuming maybe they attack on their animation more often. I do not know. Chosen with the great weapons, minus 50 in cost. Warhounds, all of the Warhounds, plus 2 speed, plus 3 melee defense, extra mass, and minus 25 cost. It's probably good. Warhounds need to be cheaper if they're ever going to be worth it. They still have terrible leadership. Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, plus 20 armor, not going to hurt. Dragon Ogre, plus 10 armor, again, not going to hurt. That's a significant number of changes to Chaos. I want to go ahead and talk about how I think things are balanced up in this patch. Now, I dropped into Ninja Hun's stream today and asked him what he thought, and he had pretty much the same thought that I do. With the Regiment of Renown out for dwarfs, and not only that, you also have Clan Angren that has these special ethereal heroes. Because of the changes, and then the Greenskins got some pretty seriously powerful Regiments of Renown, and then the Squigs are, like the Squig Herd is a really good unit for the price, and that's being seen pretty quickly in matches. So I think that with all the changes, I would agree with Ninja Hun whenever he responded to me and he said, yeah, so I think that the factions are basically split up into 2 tiers now. This was his thought process. So basically that Empire, Greenskins, and Vampires are all pretty much on the same level. These factions, the Greenskins haven't gotten all these extra tools, the Vampires being what they are, plus the Vampires, they got some more of their replenishment ability back. I haven't looked to see how much that is, by the way. Again, Creative Assembly didn't call it out in the notes. That kind of stuff would be helpful. I appreciate them putting out the list of patch notes, and I don't want to rag on them for that, but helping us understand a little bit more about those notes would be very much appreciated. And so I don't know what the total replenishment is now. If anybody knows, please let me know. So yeah, Tier 1 would be Vampire, Greenskin, and Empire. Now, I would clearly tell you that it was Empire, Vampires, and Greenskins. Empire and Vampires were always pretty close. And within this patch, the Great Swords got nerfed just a little bit, and that probably helps the Vampires catch up. In fact, let me tab out real quick and I'll go look at the notes on the Empire. Yeah, so for the Empire, the biggest change was their regular Spearmen, or all their Spearmen lost 2 melee attack, which is a small debuff. But Great Swords lost 5 armor, 2 charge bonus, 1 bonus versus infantry, and then 3 hit points. That's a pretty significant debuff to Great Swords. I've always felt like Great Swords were very good for their cost, and maybe pulling them down will help balance Empire in a little bit better, since their infantry won't always perform real good against the other factions. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out and see whether or not the nerf was appropriate, or if it was too much or too little. But because they nerfed the Great Swords, I would go ahead and say that definitely probably puts the Vampires up there. Now, of course, the Vampires, if I remember right, they took a little bit of a nerfing on a few units. Their Dire Wolves picked up mass. Their Fellbats have an extra projectile collision size, so they're easier to hit with projectiles, so that was a bit of a nerf. Graveguard, including Stearnsman, lost 2 charge bonus and a bonus versus infantry, so they got nerfed a bit. The Terrorgeist got buffed with 10 AP damage, 5 damage, and then hit reaction immunity. So again, this sounds like the same thing as where they said interruption with Kolek, but again, their wording here isn't consistent, and I really wish they would clean some of this up to make this clearer for us. The Hexwraith got an extra 6 hit points. The Black Coach got reduced in cost, but it doesn't matter. That thing could be free, and it probably still wouldn't be worth it. Blood Knights lost 2 bonus versus large. They got 2 melee defense, lost 4 melee attack, and then they lost 2 charge bonus. That's a big deal. Blood Knights probably lose to Demigryph Knights now, if I had to take my guess, if they aren't under the influence of extra replenishment and all that other stuff. We'll test it at some point, just not at this moment. So, again, Tier 1. I'm guessing Empire, Vampires, and Greenskins. Greenskins are really a faction to be dealt with now because they have so many tools and different units at their disposal. They have very diverse armies and tactics that can be employed, which is kind of what made the Empire so strong to begin with. And quite honestly, the Vampires have quite a few tools. They do not have skirmishers, but they do have a lot of other tools at their disposal and good magic. So that's Tier 1. And then there's kind of just a Tier 2 now, in my opinion. So Warriors of Chaos got a lot of love. It's going to help them out a lot. I still don't see the Warriors of Chaos being a faction that newer players are going to have an easy time using, but I think that skilled players, because of the changes that were made to Chaos, will be able to use them to slightly better effect. because they're a little bit cheaper and they have more variety, a little more air power, stuff like that that helps them out. So I think Warriors of Chaos are now just part of what Ninja Hun called the second tier, and I would agree with him. And part of the reason I asked him, and I kind of felt the same way, but I asked him because he plays a lot of games. He gets a ton of time in this, whereas I get to play a battle or two every night trying to get footage for you all or watch a battle or two, and he gets to play for hours while he's streaming. So that's part of the reason why I was curious about his opinion, because he spends probably more time in multiplayer than anybody else. So in any case, he kind of felt like everything else was just tier 2. So you'd have Dwarfs, Bretonnia, Chaos, and Beastmen. And I honestly feel like, at least so far, this patch has probably brought the game, generally speaking, more into balance. That's not to say that there may not be a unit or two in here that might need some tweaking after release. We'll have to kind of get a good feel for that, like Squigs. The Squig Herd may be a little too good for the cost, and there may be some other units that need a bit of tweaking, but in general, it kind of feels like that this patch and update brought the game into slightly better balance, in the sense that there's kind of like two clear groups of factions. So I don't know, and the Dwarfs definitely took some pretty serious buffs as well. I haven't talked about some of those yet, and I need to real quick. So let me find the it mentioned it somewhere else. General balancing, unit balancing, battle. Okay, it says Beloved Son of Bretonnia and the High King abilities will no longer persist after death, but there was somewhere else. It seems like they changed. Fixed Calvin, remove zoom. They changed something about Thorgrim and the Beloved Son of Bretonnia, and I don't know exactly what those changes are. If you know, please say it in the comments, because again, their notes are a little bit confusing to me. But let's go to Dwarfs. Let's take a look at Thorgrim. I noticed that the Dwarfs have been a lot sturdier. The High King is +8 melee attack. Holy moly. So it doesn't work if his leadership's below 50%, but all the allies in his range are going to get 8 melee attack, 8% charge bonus, 12% weapon damage, and immune to psychology, and that's a 250 meter radius. That is enormous. So constant around self affects all the allies, and that's just in the Great Book of Grudges. It's just an extra 8 melee attack. So that's 16 melee attack that Thorgrim can confer, and yeah, that's huge. And then I'm assuming the Runesmith still has what he has. 8 leadership, constant around self. Yeah, and then there's 8 more melee attacks. So you can get a total of 24 melee attack if you throw in the if you throw in the Runesmith as well. Now you'll notice that the rune negation on the Runesmith is now 22% instead of the 44 like it used to be. That's changed because the Rune Lord has a master version of that is 44% now. So anyway, a few changes, but the Dwarfs can really stabilize their infantry a lot with those changes to Thorgrim. Plus, there's the Anvil of Doom out there for the Rune Lord. Let's find him. So yeah, if you put people on the Rune Lord, there's some abilities out here. Let's take a look at these. So 100% charge resistance for all allies in range. And then there's this Forge Fire. We've seen that before. Okay, so there's this right here, this physical resistance, 25%. And then I want to say there's an extra magic resistance that comes from this as well. Runic magic. Anvil of Doom. Yeah, I don't know exactly how it plays in here. Maybe it's under the abilities here, the Rune Lord. Yeah, there's the extra 15% magic resistance that the Rune Lord can put map-wide, so it gives the Dwarfs a lot of extra protection. And then the Rune of Wrath and Ruin lasts for 27 seconds on the Rune Lord, so again, giving them quite a bit more power. Anyway, so that's kind of the state of the balancing of things. Let's go try and play a battle with Chaos, just to have some fun. Chaos just doesn't suit my playstyle. And so even though they're better, it's quite possible I'm still going to lose a lot with these guys until I ever can get my mindset wrapped around the best ways to play them. So yeah, if I lose, don't take it to mean that they haven't been made better, because they are better. Go against the Dwarfs. The Dwarfs are actually kind of frightening to me as Chaos. And partly because they have Rangers now, which are really good. And the immune to psychology thing that comes on Thorgrim can make him an absolute nightmare to deal with. I've seen a lot of people bringing like melee builds with the dwarfs recently, so part of me's kind of tempted to pull a hell cannon out on him. Because the last few matches I've played, the dwarfs have been like steering away from artillery because of all the extra buffs they get with the runesmith, or with what you call it, Thorgrim. Let's grab this Chaos Dragon just for fun. And then I want to get an Exalted Hero. Even though those guys aren't my favorite, I want to get them. Thinking let's go with the Barded Chaos Steed. And let's get a couple of these Aspiring Champions. I get a couple of Marauders with great weapons. I'm going to get one Chosen. A couple of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. I kind of want some cavalry. I'm going to bring a couple of, or probably one Marauder Horseman just to keep the gyrocopters honest. And to protect my Hell Cannon from a gyrocopter. Got some money left. The question is, do I want to just spend it on infantry or do I want to spend... let's get a couple Warhounds. These guys may be useful for getting rid of some skirmishers. Let's just go with the standard ones because they're a little cheaper. Fire Sorcerer would be helpful as well, but that's going to take up a significant portion of the money that I have left. And I don't really have all that much infantry. Might have to give up the Fire Sorcerer because I'm taking the Hell Cannon, so that's just going to have to be... I could maybe switch to the Sorcerer Lord. Not quite as strong as this one, though. But that is a possibility. Let's switch over to the Fire Sorcerer on the dragon. And let's drop all the unnecessary spells. There we go. Items, let's get the Scroll of Shielding. Okay, let's try that. And that'll save me some money. Let's get our Exalted Hero back. I want him. I'm going to need some stuff to try and help get rid of Thanes. In fact, I'm thinking about picking up another one because there's Thane and a Runesmith that you usually have to deal with. Still not a lot of infantry, but I do have the cannon. I've got a couple of Exalted Heroes to help out. I don't know if this is going to work out real well. If he doesn't bring artillery, I can potentially cause a lot of damage with the Hell Cannon on some key units. Question is whether or not I have enough power to actually overpower his infantry. I've got a little bit of decent infantry power here. I always feel like you're trading something off with Chaos, and I definitely feel like I'm in that bucket. Whatever, we're just going to have to live with what we got. I've got a little bit of protection against gyros, a little bit of way to chase down skirmishers. I got some long range. We'll just see how it works. We'll just see how it works. And I got the Fire Lord. My infantry are going to need significant buffing, especially if he brings Thorgrim. If he brings Thorgrim, we really need to get Thorgrim off the battlefield. And it's going to be easier said than done. Because he'll be surrounded by Runesmiths and Thanes and all kinds of other stuff, probably. This map really reminds me of the one on Shogun 2 with maybe a little bit less extreme features on the side, but there was one that came with Fall of the Samurai that was very similar to this.
All will be despoiled for the Chaos Gods.
Okay, so here's our main infantry hitting power that will kind of just run up the center.
Chaos Marauders!
And then I'm going to put these Chaos Marauders over here. I'm going to put an Aspiring Champion behind them. Let's put the other Chaos Marauder over here. Other Aspiring Champion behind them. Hopefully it'll help keep them in the fight a little bit longer because they're so sketchy. Let's put our Marauder Horseman over here. Warhounds, we'll just kind of leave these guys maybe hidden at first. And then we'll try and get around into Dwarf Skirmishers if they are present. If not, these guys are going to be fairly worthless. But I feel like the risk of bringing them is kind of worth it. Actually, the Marauder Horsemen need to be right here. Keep the Gyrocopter off. And I have no reason to charge the dwarfs if they haven't brought ranged. Now, they can camp in that forest, and it's going to protect them to a significant degree from my hell cannon. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let's take this guy off fire at will. What does he got? He did bring crap. He's got 2 cannons. That is bad news for me. I'm going to have to just back up with my hell cannon, and then I'm going to have to move forward with everything else. I'm going to hard creep my guys and push up. Let's go check out units. Peak gate guard, that's going to be a problem. Grumblers, these guys are also going to be a problem. Sure enough, Thorgrim, so his guys are going to be having gigantic melee attack. Master Engineer to buff his cannons. The reason why I'm keeping my hell cannon back for now is because it'll lose quite handily to his own cannons, and I need to get his other cannons distracted and defeated so that my hell cannon can hopefully come back up to the battle and stay alive. I'm gonna go ahead and start moving it this way. I don't see a gyrocopter, so we're free to leave the hell cannon unprotected. Let's actually take the Marauder Horsemen over here. He also didn't bring foot skirmishers. He's traded them for the cannons, and he's gonna have a hard time protecting them. Some slayers back here as well. It's a good thing I didn't bring any heavy cavalry really then. Oh my cannon! Holy smokes! A Chaos Sorcerer just about got dealt with there. I'm gonna target the peak gate guards first. Okay, I'm gonna wheel up behind these guys. Dang it, I need to hand target that cannon, but I just don't have the ability to do so at the moment. Okay. Yeah, he's gonna destroy my cannon. Gosh darn it. This is frustrating. I'm gonna dismount the cannon and run away from it so that they don't destroy the actual cannon piece, and I can hopefully remount it later. Okay, I'm going to send both my Exalted Heroes in after Thorgrim. And I'm going to go ahead and try and fly my Sorcerer Lord up here.
Exalted Hero, they will suffer. The Spanish Hero Masters, witness me. The Spanish Hero. Attack the mortals!
Right now, Thorgrim's beating the crap out of my Exalted Hero.
What? Kill, bang, burn.
Hopefully I can double team him.
Sorcerer Lord.
Okay. At least I'm keeping his hammer units and other stuff at bay. I can probably go ahead and remount my cannon at this point. Oh crap, he's gonna kill my lord. Crap. That's so frustrating. I don't have any way of getting to his cannons. The only thing I can hope is that my infantry managed to cut through him, which we are at the moment. He's just got miners over here, but these grumblers are going to be a challenge. I'm getting damage done on Thorgrim, but I'm still lacking. I'm cutting through his miners on the sides. My lord was killed or routed all the way off the battlefield. Are we mounted again? Okay, I'm gonna try and get to his cannons now. One of them has been taken out of commission. Let's see if we can pull his slayers off of the guard position of this other cannon. Crap, way to miss, Hell Cannon. Really need this Hell Cannon to hit. I'm actually going to... My Hell Cannon... I don't even think I can man it anymore. Crap, dang it. He got a hit on me and I can't even man it. What a waste. These Peak Gate Guard are going to be probably more than I can handle, and both of my worthless Exalted Heroes died in the attempt of killing Thorgrim, which means that I'm almost guaranteed to lose this battle. At this point, there's really nothing I can do. I'll try and run down some of these routing units, so that at least maybe they don't come back, but yeah, we're going to get defeated here because I can't deal with Thorgrim. The defense from the Thane, and then the fact that my Exalted Heroes are so weak, I should have just gone ahead and used flying units. And the reason I should have done that is because their charge is more impactful, and I could have come down on Thorgrim and killed him faster, taken him out of the battle faster. So yeah, you can definitely still see a weakness of Chaos here in the way that that played out. So since my opponent brought the range, it countered the fact that I brought the Hell Cannon, so that was a risk when I brought it, and I knew it, and it did not pay off. So having spent the funds elsewhere would have been a much better deal. I go ahead and admit this defeat. So I don't really feel like the Dwarf player even played very well. He pretty much just sat there and won because I picked the wrong units. And so I mean, it was, yeah, it's definitely my fault. Like I said, not necessarily even a very inspiring build per se on his side. I just picked the wrong units, but that's Chaos. Let's try it again. I've lost to Dwarf several times with Chaos since the release of this patch because the Dwarfs have gotten significantly better. They were already perfectly capable of facing Chaos, but now they're much more capable. And, you know, to be honest, instead of going with the Exalted Heroes, trying to fly in and kill Thorgrim, I almost wonder if it'd be better to just get 2 or 3 Manticores and hit him with hard charges from that way. It's the same guy again, so I'm going to pick Chaos again. And that Sorcerer Lord did not work out whatsoever. Okay, good. He's going to pick Dwarfs again. So let's assume that he's probably going to try some of the same old stuff. Better range here. Slightly better range on these Marauder Horsemen, but they don't have armor piercing. Let's swap it up a little bit here. So I'm thinking for a Lord, either Archaon or Sartharel, because he's got missile resistance and he's unbreakable. Could certainly help me getting at cannons and stuff like that, though Archaon's going to be better at actually killing Dwarf Lords, and he comes with the fire sorcery. Let's bring Archaon on his mount. He's going to be pretty expensive, but if we drop all these spells, it'll bring him back down to where we need him. Since leadership's crappy, I'm probably going to go ahead and spend the money on that stuff, because now he's my Lord and Fire Sorcerer all in one. The Chosen didn't really seem to pay off there, so I'm going to leave them at home. And maybe what we'll do is bring a couple of these guys instead. Let's get a couple of our Aspiring Champions. I kind of feel like those guys are always worth it. I'm going to get a few Flying Manticore, or Feral Manticores. I still want at least one Marauder Horseman to cover myself against... Well, no, I won't need it because the Gyrocopters would get chased off by the Feral Manticores, so that would be a waste of money. So I got Archaon. Probably... I don't want to take too many Forsaken because they're not really that great against armor. And we've got these guys to help buff up the Forsaken's morale. I'll probably just try and get... Regular Chaos Warriors are just a little bit too weak to really be viable here. Let's maybe just grab one more Marauder Great Weapon. Alright, so this time if he brings the cannons or whatever and sits back, I've got several Manticores. I can swing them out wide. And with 3 Manticores charging his heroes all at once, hopefully we can get more work done. If he does have a lot of Skirmishers, the Manticores are going to have to help deal with those as well. If he has Slayers, that could be a problem. We may need to try and get the Forsaken around the flank to try and get at the back lines where he's going to keep some of his units to guard. We'll see if he plays the same type of defense. It's a somewhat wooded map, so definitely good not to bring the cannon here. At least I don't think so. I'm still kind of thinking about Archaon. He is really tough in melee. The Dwarfs are not going to have an easy time killing him unless they just gun him down. But would I be better to bring Sartharel just for his disruptive nature? Sometimes he gets bogged down on all the dwarf heroes as well. I want the fire sorcery too, though, because it's significant buffs to my infantry. Alright, yeah, let's stick with Archaon. This may be a mistake. We'll see. I made mistakes last time. What's to say I may not do it again. So yeah, Chaos, definitely better, but as you saw in that last battle, you make a mispick or you make a mistake. Like, I tried to make the right moves by keeping that Hell Cannon alive. It needed to be manually targeted. It was a bad pick in the end. It was just a bad pick. That's all there is to it. You take a risk when you pick something like that, and the risk did not pay off. And that's all there is to it. Okay. Got my guys. I'm gonna roll the aspiring champions on the flank again too to help buff up these marauders and keep them in the fight a little longer. I'm gonna run Forsaken all the way out on the edge, and my goal is gonna be to get around the flanks with them. And then the feral manticores, I'm gonna put a couple on one side because he's likely to have the cannons again, and I'll just fly in and around to make it to where his cannons have to turn around. Maybe he doesn't bring cannons because the map is more wooded. If he's paying more attention, he may very well not. I'm going to hard group these guys in the center. And then I've got my Forsaken to try and get around the flanks. Starting off with pretty good winds of magic. And then Archaon should do, yeah, he's got basically the same setup, I think. Yeah, Peak Gate Guard. Dragon Slayers this time. Dragonback Slayers, Miners, yeah. So we'll try and collapse in real good on his Lord with 3 Manticores all at once. He could get decent damage done with his cannons. We'll see. Forest will give me a little bit of cover, as will the terrain. I don't know what he's shooting at. My Aspiring Champions, maybe? It's better than shooting at my Manticores. Yep, he's got Thorgrim again. We'll see how Thorgrim stands up to 3 feral Manticores. He may stand up just fine, but with him buffing the infantry like that, we've got to try something to bring him out of the fight. My Forsaken wasn't moving. That's unfortunate. That is most unfortunate. Okay. These cannons are not turning on my Manticore. That Peak Gate Guard's going to be a problem. Their armor sundering. Very powerful units. He's got a Master Engineer as well. Probably going to try and use him for sniping at Lords. And then buffing up his cannon fire. Yeah, I want the Forsaken to come in all the way from behind, hopefully. Cannons. Just making sure they're not trying to turn towards my Manticore. Okay, he's got these miners. I'm just going to plow into the miners. Archaon up. Okay, I'm going to bring these guys in. I'm going to try and ignore his Peak Gate Guard if I can. Okay, he's now firing his cannons at my Manticore. We're going to have to watch out for his Slayers with the Manticore, so I'm hoping maybe we can get this, let's get Archaon in here. Let's bring him in to help attack. I'm going to try and go in here and get the Runesmith, maybe. Buff these guys up. Okay, charge Archaon. Let's get into these Slayers. Okay, the Peak Gate Guard's got its back turned to us for a moment. Okay, let's try and get the Manticores out for another charge. I want to just leave them engaged. Okay, I'm going to bring them around for another charge. Okay, The hammers are pulling in. Okay, got a nice charge on Thorgrim that time. I'm gonna bring my manticores back out for another charge. Alright, the Slayers are gonna get caught. Hopefully this is gonna work out a little better. Both his cannons are tied down. Let's pile into the back of this fight. Okay, we've got Thorgrim pushed out behind the lines over here. Archaon is getting his face pounded. Thinking about pulling out a little. I don't want Archaon dead, so I might see if I can get out of here. And then bring in all his infantry to help support his retreat. Archaon, get out of there. Give him the extra vigor. Still struggling to bring Thorgrim down despite repeated charges from 3 manticores. Okay, let's bring Archaon back around, bring in the aspiring champions. I don't know if we can beat this dwarf army. If we can take out Thorgrim, it would have been nice, but I don't think we can. And I don't think I have enough to kill the peak gate guard. Let's keep moving with our manticores. Okay, get back over here. Okay, Archaon, let's get him out of combat, hopefully. Let's pop this, get more leadership. Okay, let's keep our manticores on the move. Boy, man, Thorgrim is really hanging on. I really would like to get Archaon out of this fight. If at all possible. Okay, we killed Thorgrim. Let's try for the runesmith. Okay. I'm gonna keep cycling back out. Come on, manticores, get out of there. Let's bring Archaon up close. Let's charge this runesmith again. It's gonna be really hard to even finish this fight. Unless my manticores can pull it out for me here. They're kind of missing their charges on the runesmith. One of them's gonna die there too. I'm telling them to charge the runesmith, but their charge is missing. Archaon's mostly dead. I'm just having too difficult of a time killing the dwarf leaders. Yeah, the runesmith's just not dying, despite the repeated charge attempts. And I've got these guys, we just can't seem to get rid of the peak gate guard. Yeah, we're gonna lose this too, just because I can't seem to get rid of the dwarf leadership here. That's frustrating. Yeah, once again, not trying to bash my opponent, but I don't even really feel like he played better here. He kind of just sits there and wins because I can't seem to bring the right build or make the right maneuvers to kill him. I don't think that the Everchosen would have suited me any better here. I just really, as Chaos here, I'm struggling to defeat the dwarf heroes. I think we pretty much beat their infantry. We just didn't beat their heroes. So there you go. At least you get to see how Chaos stacks up against the dwarfs. I still feel like the dwarfs are the better faction. Chaos has improved, and maybe there's just better ways of killing their heroes than what I did. We were able to get rid of Thorgrim after many, many charges. Maybe what I should have done was tried, instead of blob charging, maybe try to use the manticores to get a one-on charge there, or like a one-off charge. So one manticore targeting one hero at a time. His Dragonback Slayers didn't do all that great. The Grumbling Guard, these guys are tough, and they were keeping all of his units fresh, which is making it even harder. And then these guys sunder armor, and they're really good. So really difficult situation to deal with here. So you can see it makes it difficult for my infantry to perform well. And then typically in the past they would have performed very well versus the dwarves. So this is pretty common nowadays for the dwarves to just bring the super buffed army with a bunch of heroes. This guy can pick away at your own heroes. The Master Engineer Cannon, he can buff up the cannons for sniping lords and stuff like that. So I'm not saying this army is unbeatable by any means, but obviously I'm not bringing the right stuff here with Chaos. I would feel a lot better coming up against something like this with other factions that have heroes with healing potions, and then I would feel pretty confident that I could deal with these guys. There's, you know, the long-range cannons, though, here for the dwarfs. If you can deal with those, you should be able to maybe pick them apart with skirmish play too, especially since these Longbeards don't have shields, these guys don't have shields. Yeah, so I mean, if you picked apart the cannons early on somehow, or sacrifice something to take them down, if you had skirmishers, you would really decimate this build. So that, like Bretonia, for instance, if their death squad can maybe quickly take out the cannons, or something can, and then you just have a bunch of peasant bows, this army is going to suffer mightily at the hands of those peasant bows. And you know, same thing for beastmen. If they got rid of the cannons and then had Cygors, this army would be in huge trouble. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed this. Tried to give you some decent thoughts and commentary on those battles there. A little bit frustrating, but hey, that's how you learn sometimes. You just play it. Tell me what you think I could have improved on. Hope you enjoyed this look at the changes to Chaos. HeirofCarthage, signing out.